What's up, Melanated family? This is your boy Harrison Man from MelanatedFathers.com and Melanated Fathers TV, bringing you a brand new episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I want to welcome everybody to the show. We got a brand new show for you today, a brand new topic, a lot of different things going on in the news. For all of you who are new to the show, if this is your first time listening to the Melanated Convo podcast, this is a podcast that basically talks about different issues going on in our community, different issues going on in our community as far as our children are concerned, as far as racism is concerned, as far as our relationships are concerned. Of course, we use melanated as a way to define black people in America. We understand that using the term black or using the term these terms are socially acceptable, and I even use them in conversation with people just to create understanding. But at the end of the day, when we talk about black, when we talk about African American, these are actually social constructs. So I like to think of it as, if we're going to free ourselves, if we're going to become the people that we need to be, the first thing we need to start doing is defining who we are. And that begins with naming ourselves. You feel me? Opposed to using epithets and, like I said, social constructs that have been placed upon us. And in my opinion, when we talk about who we are as beings, melanin is really the most scientific way to describe that. So that's why I like to use the term melanated. So on the show, what we basically do is we talk about serious topics that facing the community. Sometimes I'll do this in an interview form where I'll bring on a different brother or sister from the community. It can be an entertainer, it can be a writer, just a regular father or mother who is passionate about what they do. I like to speak to people who are passionate about our community, passionate about their work too. You know what I'm saying? Just passionate about what they want to do with their lives. Also on the show, we talk about the latest news topics. That's something new that I've brought to the show. We'll take a few situations that are happening in the news and we'll talk about these things, just to create perspective in a social media age where there's a lot of different conversations going on. Everybody's talking about everything. People are doing a lot of trolling, where there's a lot of people bringing up other individuals' names just to bring like to their page or get likes or follows, all the misleading news stories and topics. I just like to talk about different things going on in our community and be as contextual as possible without adding no fuck shit to the story, basically. You know what I'm saying? Also on the show, I think when I look at economics in the black community, when I look at where we stand economically, when I look at the different things that we suffer from politically, socially, and otherwise, finances has a lot to do with that. So if we're going to come out of that financial rut, working for somebody, that's what most of us do. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, we need to find a way to create businesses, create different levels of structure in our community so we can have our own shit, right? And, supporting black businesses. If you are a person who does not have a black business, then the best thing you can do is support someone who does have a black business. So also on this show, I like to highlight a few black businesses, some local here in the Sacramento, California area where I'm at, some around the country. You know what I'm saying? I just like to highlight people that I'm aware of that come across that come across my table here, and I want to give them as much shine as possible. And that's what we need to do, man. If we're looking for products and services, I understand being in America, most of the things we go through most of the things we need, a lot of the things that we need, we have to go through the dominant white society to get it. And that can be, from household products to things for our vehicle, whatever. But there are black people, there are black companies that sell a lot of the things that we use on a day-to-day basis. And in my opinion, if we can find people who sell what we need that look like us, and not only are they black, but the product is quality as well, because that has to be the caveat. I'm not going to support you just because you're black. The tiebreaker is you're selling a service or a product just like someone else, and the tiebreaker is, you're black, so I'm going to get it from you. But the service has to be quality. The product has to be quality. So on the show, we speak about black businesses, give love to a few black businesses in the community to support the family. Now, let's get everything started. Oh, and today's topic, just so everybody is aware, today's topic, what we're going to talk about, because like I said, man, we talk about relationships, we'll talk about racism, we'll talk about hip hop, we'll talk about whatever's going on in our community, whatever I feel like needs to be spoken about to a degree. But what I am most concerned about, what I focus more on, what I find myself focusing more on, is topics pertaining to our kids. And like I said, man, just being a father of 5, what I've had to endure being a father, some things that just happened by the situations I created, some things happened by my stupidity or my immaturity, but it's a lot that I learned from these situations. So I like to take these instances and speak to the family about it, because a lot of us, growing up, we didn't have fathers. Growing up, we didn't have father figures or men around who can give us game about real life shit and how to create structure with our families and live prosperous lives while still maintaining who we are. You know what I'm saying? So I like to speak a lot about our children and our family. So on today's episode, what I wanted to talk about for 2020, getting the new year started, for all my family members out there who got young men, who got young black men, I wanted to speak about the rules of dating, understanding the practical way I feel you should go about courting a woman, the practical way I feel you should go about entering into a relationship with the opposite sex, basically. A lot of us, like I mentioned, man, we come from single mother homes where there weren't men around or examples of men around that can help us kind of navigate the dating field and figure out how to find the partner that we should be with without creating situations where we're having babies over here or babies over there. So today, I want to break down a few things I think are important that we should talk to our boys about before they enter the dating scene. Now, let's get everything started with the news stories for today. First thing I want to talk about, the rapper The Game. A news story just came out the other day. A viral video was shown, actually, of the rapper The Game talking to some young kids who were selling candy. So basically what happened was some young kids were in LA one night selling candy. The police was called on them. So what The Game did, he found out about the situation, and to defuse the situation, he got there in time. He purchased all of the candy from the kids. Actually, he didn't take the candy. He just gave them money. He just gave them money for the candy, spoke to them about the importance of being aware of where you are and being aware that being a black man in society, sometimes you may think you're doing something innocent, but before you know it, shit can get out of hand. You know what I'm saying? So he spoke to him about that, spoke to him about how to interact with the cops to a degree. So I just want to take my hat off to the brother, man. And when I hear stories about people in hip hop, I'm an avid listener and supporter of hip hop culture in its totality. So I've been aware that even though there's a lot of negative attributes to hip hop that I personally think should be deaded, just on some real shit, I still have a really great understanding of a lot of the men in that art form are really good black men who are just trying to do the best that they can, coming from underserved environments, right? So every time I hear a story about a black man, or a black artist rather, a black rapper, because they get such a bad rap, I like to shed light on the great things that they do in the community. So he was able to diffuse the situation, talk to the young brothers, give them money, and kind of salute them for doing things in a positive light, because they are selling candy where they could be selling dope or doing other negative things as a means to get some cash. So he saluted them for that. So I want to salute the brother for helping out some young kids in our community. And really, when we talk about, because sometimes, when I'm on social media or talking to different people, when it comes to thinking about what we need to do as a people to get better, what we need to do as a people to get out of the slump we're in, or just improve our way of life, improve the wealth gap between white and black families, right? What does a black man or a black woman need to do? Some people think we need to invest heavily in like the political forum and vote and thinking these politicians can help us. And that's the thing, man, looking at what everything's going on with Donald Trump and how all that is transpiring. Look, there's a place for politics and it can help us to a degree, but at the end of the day, it's up to us as individuals. What the fuck are you gonna do to help out society? What are you gonna do to help your people? If you see some kids selling candy, police harassing them, go over there and help out. Think about that, family. If all of us took that type of initiative when it came to everything black culture, just taking a real positive stance towards, I'm older, I'm going to take my knowledge, I'm going to take the information that I have and try and share it with young people in any way that I can. Be an example for them or share with my words, because that's needed at this point. And all of us have a part to play in evoking change in the world. You really have to be the change that you want to see. It's that type of shit, right? So I take my hat off to the brother Game for diffusing the situation, giving them kids money and teaching them a lesson in the interim. You feel me? So hats off to the Game. We appreciate you, brother. Now, another story out of Chicago. A pastor by the name of Bishop Clarence Smith Jr. is under fire today because the city and state of Chicago is alleging that he misappropriated $900,000. Now, basically what happened, his church was a part of a food program where the city of Chicago gave him close to $900,000, which was to be used to provide food for kids in different areas of the city. Well, Mr. Smith, Pastor Smith, took the money and began using the money for his personal gain, buying himself a Bentley, put the money in his personal bank account, using it for different things that he wanted. Also, when they came to him in 2018, they came to him asking him, we need records of the money that you gave to all these different families, all these different kids. Well, Mr. Smith, Pastor Smith, basically came up with a story that the records that held all of the kids he fed was ruined in a flood and everything was damaged. So there was no more records, no way for him to show proof of what he fucking done. So now he's under fire, possibly be going to jail for it. The reason why I talk about this story, I'm well aware that every preacher in the black community is a bad person. Like, I don't paint everybody with a broad brush in that regard, so I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, man, when we look at religion and we look at how it's been propagated onto our people, when we look at Christianity, when we look at the history of a lot of the things that we worship when it comes to religion, we have to question things. We have to question why, in my opinion, early on when we were going to church and we would have and we were enslaved and it was severe bouts of racism going on, I think at that time church was used as a safe haven because we knew we were under attack. So even though we were praying to God or praying to a white Jesus or whatever the fuck, we knew we were under attack, so we still conducted ourselves a little bit differently. I think over the time, over years, we've gotten fully away from that to the point now. It's unfortunate, but church is just a goddamn show to a degree. And I hate to say it like that, but I have to go off what I see. Now, do I know church people who are devout and really believe in that and don't have no malice in their heart? Sure. But the majority of the motherfuckers that I come across ain't pure at all. The majority of the people that I come by aren't living what the scripture says, and without doing, in my opinion, the necessary research on how all of these things transpire, man. If you're gonna believe in a particular faith, I think you should at least do the due diligence to find out why, to find out if you shouldn't be involved in a different faith. How do you know you're a Christian if you've never read the Torah or never read, other religious books? You feel me? So this is an example of the misappropriation of that power. And I think, unfortunately, in our community, we're so bereft of any type of attention. We are so fucked up in society and treated a certain way come from all these underprivileged communities, and we don't get attention as kids. We just have a lot of shit going on in our community that needs to be addressed, and sometimes the byproduct of that is people who want attention, people who will do anything to be in some sort of a spotlight, right? And I think some of these pastors suffer from that, being a black man in society and getting shitted on. But in this community, you the shit. In this community, people look up to you. In this community, people do whatever you say to a degree. You see what I'm saying? And there's really no there's really no different levels you have to pass through to become a pastor. And what I mean by that, your criminal record really don't matter, your past don't matter. Now, I'm not saying we should restrict people from doing certain things based on their history. I'm not saying that, but I mean, shit, most jobs you got to do a background check, right? You got to do different things to ensure this person is going to be moral and do things the right way. And because church doesn't require that, because pastoring doesn't require that, in my opinion, we get these pastors who feel they can do whatever the fuck they want to do because nobody's going to question them in the name of God. And we have all these single women going to church, and that just adds to the confusion to a degree. We need to be honest and look at church and religion in its totality, and a lot of people just ain't rocking with that shit no more. Rightfully so, in my opinion, because of what we've been shown, because of the environment that we've had to witness, and we see what goes on in our community and how things are still the same way. If we look outside of the religious element, just look at society, look at white supremacy, look at racism, look at classism, look at all these things we have to go to. If you go to church on Sunday and afterwards you guys aren't doing anything about the racism in society, if you're not doing anything about the financial structure in society, if I go by a big ass church that's in the middle of a fucked up community, that don't make me feel good. Why is all that money going to build that church when the people around it is suffering? You see what I'm saying? It just never made sense to me. In this story of this pastor Bishop Clarence Smith Jr. is another example of our society, black society in particular, allowing these men to run rampant with no regard and do so without being accountable for how it's affecting all of us. You feel me? Think about that, family. The church is a $1 billion industry. That they make billions of dollars every year, just the black churches. We got to think about if that money was appropriated to everybody, creating small business loans or creating small communities throughout the United States of black people who are doing good. I'm in the part of my city in Sacramento where it's over 100 churches, family. 100 churches? Really? Everybody needs their own little section like that. Everybody needs their own little community to raise and nourish. That's bullshit. How about we just have 10 churches in the whole Sacramento, and we should be good, right? Fill everybody up in there. Go different days. Take that money and build up the community instead of take away from the community, as it looks like to me. Now, I'm not saying there aren't churches that don't do good things, that don't feed the homeless or give away clothes or do different things like that. But in totality, if you're not a member of that church, they really not rocking with you. That's what I've seen. You feel me? So pastors like Bishop Clarence Smith Jr. will continue to run rampant on our community until we do the due diligence of figuring out who we are as a people. That's a fucking personal mission. Can't nobody help you with that. Can't no Bible help you with that. Can't no man on a pulpit help you with that. That's some shit you got to come to yourself. And that has to be done by you doing the research on everything you're interested in. You don't need an intercessor between you and God. You don't need nobody to help you out when it comes to figuring out who you are and figuring out who your God is. Whoever you may pray to. Whatever faith you believe in. That's some shit that's personal. You feel me? So when we give these pastors this type of power, it doesn't, it's no mistake that these type of things happen. So until we are willing to look ourselves in the face and say, okay, what do I need to do personally to help myself evolve? What do I need to look at personally to help me get through these things? Because sometimes when things happen bad or good, we place them on God immediately without saying, okay, I mean, of course, there is a higher power, but there is a higher power in me as well. And that comes through when things happen in my life. You feel me? So it's some deep shit, man. But on the surface, things like this are going to continue to happen until we decide to make some changes. Feel me? Now, for the last story of today, want to salute, like I said, any hip-hop artist or person of that nature who decides to go in the community and do things the positive way. I salute that. And we have our brother Yo Gotti, who noticed that in the Mississippi prisons a couple weeks ago, there was a lot of crazy shit going on. It's like 5 inmates were killed. They're living in inhumane conditions where they're don't have the proper food, don't have mattresses, have rats running around. So Yo Gotti took it upon himself, being a brother from the South, taking the initiative to give a fuck about our people. Just like I was saying a little earlier about game, this is really just the type of thing we need in our society from everybody. He took the initiative. Him and Team Rock. Team Rock is an offshoot of Rock Nation. I think it's like their charitable foundation that they have. They sent a letter to the governor of Mississippi, Phil Bryant, letting him know that if they don't change the conditions of these prisons, then Team Rock and Yo Gotti will sue them. Now the governor has came out, he seems real arrogant. He came out and said that the reason why the prisons are fucked up is because of the prisoners. He's blaming it on the prisoners, not really taking into account the conditions that they put them in, right? So again, man, when we look at our society and how the prison systems are ran, how we use these prisons, no other country puts people in jail the way America does. We use these prisons to house these men who have, all these different type of offenses, some of them deadly. Some people probably do deserve to be in prison, but I would say, on a hunch, most of those individuals would fare better if they were just put into college. Most of those individuals would fare better if they was just put into counseling or some type of program to help them with their lives. And as we can see in America, that's really not the goal. I mean, that's obvious. We as black people see that that becomes really apparent to us based on racism, Jim Crow, slavery, in the prison industrial complex, and how we have been at a higher rate put into those situations as far as prison, as far as jail is concerned, the criminal justice system, parole, all these different things. We tend to suffer from these things a little more than other people, so we're well aware of it. You feel me? Now, that's not to say there isn't poor white people in jail, poor Mexican people in jail. I'm not gonna say that they are in there as well, but there's an over representation of black people in these spaces, and that's just well known. You feel me? But in totality, we need to understand, man, that our country, that's why it's difficult for me at times to, I struggle being a black man in America and listening to terms like America the Great, or even looking at the goddamn American flag, and when people are very patriotic around me, I struggle with that because I understand the liberties that we have being in a country that will allow you to soar as high as you want to go to a degree, right? Like, we're free, but we're not really free in America. Now, of course, other places may have it a lot worse when it comes to their infrastructure, when it comes to what their governments allow them to do and the type of freedoms that they have. So I understand that and I appreciate that, but I'm well aware that one of the main reasons why we have a lot of the liberties we have in this country today is because of the labor of black people, because of the slave labor that built all of the structure in this country, from the banking system to the railroads, everything that we're looking at. A lot of that structure, most of it, if not all of it, was created by the slave labor in this country. So when we look at the patriotism and the love for America, I mean, we should love it more than anybody, right? If we helped build this motherfucker. But at the end of the day, we're not treated as such, and that's an ongoing topic in our society, and I'll never not talk about that as long as that's still the case. You feel me? How we're treated in this country is completely unfair. So when I look at what's going on in this Mississippi jail, I feel for these brothers, man, because a lot of times once you get put in prison, you're a member of the forgotten almost, and you become a slave to that system where you're making pennies on the dollar to make all of these products that we benefit from in our American culture. You feel me? So it's some deep shit, man, and it's some shit that we really got to look at seriously. I just like the fact that different brothers in our society, different black men in our society that have influence, are taking it upon themselves to say, you know what, I see injustice in society, I see injustice in my community, injustice anywhere in the world, and I'm going to do something about it. And again, just like I was saying about the brother game, if all of us did that in our own comfort zone, right? Because like I've said before, every black man wasn't made to be a revolutionary like Malcolm X, or outspoken like Muhammad Ali even. You feel me? Everybody wasn't meant to be like that. You could be a quieter dude who ain't with being that type of radical, but get shit done. It's not even about that. It's just about getting shit done. So as long as you have your people's best interests at heart, I think you really can't go wrong with that mentality. You feel me? So salute to the brother Yo Gotti, and Team Rock Nation, Jay-Z. I know people say a lot of shit about him, but I appreciate that brother. I think from the space he's in, he's doing what he can. And again, if I don't put too much on celebrities or anybody that's famous or has influence, I think if I want to see somebody be helpful to our community and give their all, I can do that shit myself. I don't gotta look for a celebrity to get out like that. You feel me? So salute to those brothers. Now, let's move on to the black businesses. Like I said, man, it's important to support all of our people out here trying to make a way for themselves. All of our people out here trying to create things that they feel we can use here in our society, create wealth for their families, create an infrastructure so we can have something. Feel me? If you when I look at my city now, I know structural racism has a hand in the infrastructure that I see in my city, as far as there being like a little Chinatown, there being a little area where the Arabs have all their stores. There's areas in my city where Mexican people have a lot of structure and a lot of stores and things that they use to support their family. As we know, the money in other communities rotate in their communities several times before it leaves out, and we understand in the black community that isn't the case for the most part, right? So even though we know that these things take place, these like I said, the structuredized racism that affects all of us, the classism that affects all of us, all of these different things, we have to continue to fight that, right? But at the end of the day, like I was saying earlier, we need to look at each other and decide what we're going to do. We need to look at each other and realize there are moves we can make on our own. So when I see somebody black with a business, I am going to do everything I can to support their movement. And again, I'm looking for quality businesses as well as being black, but I'm going to do everything I can to support their movement, let everybody know about it, spend my money with them. You feel me? Like I said, man, that's the only way these things are going to change, is if we put our money where our mouth is and put our actions in the right place too. You feel me? Because you can give money and do that as well, but what actions are you displaying to help the people around you? You feel me? So 2 new businesses for today. Well, actually, 1 business from last week. Each business will be advertised 2 weeks in a row. So again, I'm going to talk about my brother Khalid White. Like I said last week, Khalid White is the owner of Black Empower LLC. Black Empower LLC is a company that offers several different options, right? The first thing how I came into contact with the brother is he has a documentary about fatherhood. I've been able to work with Khalid over the last couple years. Great brother, college professor. I've been able to interview him for my platform and different things like that. So we've created a camaraderie over the years. He has a film. That he created for black fathers. Give me one moment here. My computer's freezing up. Let me see here. Yes. So he created a film for black fathers that actually comes with that actually comes with a book as well. So the film and the book is Trials, Tribulations, and Triumph. Hold on one second here. Hold on one second here, because the brother is deep, man. He's doing a lot of good stuff for our community, and I've spoke about him before because the brother is a junior college professor. So when I came across his movement and everything that he was doing, he's a junior college professor, but he's a real relatable brother. You feel me? If you met him, you would just think he was a regular brother from the hood, man. That was real cool. You feel me? But in actuality, he's an educator. In actuality, he created, like I said, Black Empower LLC, where the first book was Black Fatherhood, Trials and Tribulations, Testimony and Triumph. That's the book that I have, a really, really great read. He was able to create a documentary film based on that as well. Another book he has for young men in junior college, because like I said, Khalid is a junior college professor. He's a junior college professor. Him and some other professors that he works with created a guidebook called Teaching Men of Color in the community college form. So that book kind of helps black kids get acclimated to junior college and let them know what to expect, different things like that. So that's some really good work. He has clothing as well. He has different shirts with different black slogans regarding reparations, regarding black, one of them has a logo that says Black to the Future on it. So just some really, really stylish clothing. Black College Matters is one of the shirts that he has as well. You feel me? So Khalid does a really good job, man, of not, because he could have just been a black man who teaches our children, which we all know in our community, we don't have enough black professors. We don't have enough black men in classrooms that can show our kids a positive example of what not only manhood is, but what it can be like to be a teacher, just to inspire, to kind of be in the educational realm and help our kids that way. So not only does he do that, but like I said, he has the books, he has the fashion, he has the documentary film, the Black Fatherhood documentary, where he interviews 5, 6, 7, 8 fathers, I think it is. I've been able to see that film a couple times when he's done different screenings for it. So Khalid, is really a good brother in the community, man. So everybody go out and support the brother. Everybody go to the website. That's blkmpwr.com. Go to the website, support the brother, buy one of the books. Not only does he have the books I mentioned, but he has some couple kids books that he just released as well. One of them is even written in Spanish. Actually has 2 of them that are actually written in Spanish. So the brother is really doing this thing, man. He's really putting in an effort to help our community. And like I was saying, I kind of lost my train of thought, but like I was saying, he could have just been a teacher and helped our children that way, but the brother decided to step outside of that and create films and create intellectual property that people in our community can have forever. You know what I'm saying? So I admire the brother. I think he's doing just wonderful things in the community. So go to the website and check out what he's doing. That's blkmpwr.com. That's blkmpwr.com. You can just Google Black Empower. My brother Khalid White doing his thing. Now, for the next business, I wanted to support my brother here out of the Sacramento area, hip hop artist out of the Sacramento area named Mr. Lewis. His name is spelled M''Ster, Lewis, Lewis. He is a brother I came across a couple years ago from the Sacramento area where I'm from, man. He does a really, he makes really socially conscious music that still be jamming, you know what I'm saying? So the music still sounds good, but he has a real conscious vibe to him. The brother practices what he preaches. He's a vegan. He homeschools his kids. So he raps about a particular lifestyle and knowledge of self and things like that, and he lives by it as well. So I really appreciate the brother's music. So everybody, if you can even Google Mr. Lewis. That's M''Ster, Lewis, Lewis. Google him, you'll see all of his music. He created a clothing line called God Mode and Goddess Mode, where he has shirts and dresses for women and men. Dresses for the women, not for the men. But he created a clothing line just to basically salute our culture, man, and to give people positive affirmations to wear. You feel me? So Mr. has been doing his thing here in the Sacramento area for a while. So I just wanted to give the brother some shine and let him know that I salute him. And again, he just released a new project called Rebuilding the Culture 2. Really solid music, man. And like I said, I've been able to interview him on my platform as well. We've had several in-depth conversations about how he raises his kids, about how he decides on what kind of music he's going to drop and produce. You know what I'm saying? So he's a really talented brother that also does music directing here in Sacramento. So the clothing line, the music directing, if everybody needs that and you're in the Sacramento area, please go to you can find them on Facebook under Mr. Lewis. You can find them on Instagram under Mr. Lewis. It's spelled just how I said it early. Don't forget the apostrophe, STERLEWIS. Mr. Lewis, that's my boy, man. Go to Spotify. You can go all the streaming platforms that has music. Tidal, I was just listening to his album the other day on Tidal. All the streaming platforms actually has the music. So go to the brother's page, listen to some of the tracks. I really like the title track for Rebuilding the Culture 2. It's called Rebuilding the Culture. Really good music, man. So go to his page, support him, listen to the music. I'm having a panel discussion next month for Black History Month, and Mr. Lewis is going to be a part of that panel discussion where we talk about realistic solutions for the black community in 2020. We'll talk about how do we combat the war that's been waged on our community, whether it be financially, socially, and otherwise. So we're going to have a real good time next month on the 22nd. That's Saturday the 22nd. But Mr. Lewis is a really positive brother who is preaching the right message here in the Sacramento area that I'm from. So I wanted to send that brother a shout out. Everybody go support his movement. That's Mr. Lewis, MSTERLEWIS. Now, for the topic, like I was saying, man, look, it's 2020. A lot of us got teenagers. It's a new year, 2020, clear vision, right? A lot of us got teenagers. A lot of us come from impoverished environments, or environments where finances aren't what they should be, environments where we didn't see a structured man-woman relationship with our father and our mother, environments where we've seen a lot of different drugs being sold, we've seen a lot of different levels of dysfunction being normalized. You feel me? So a lot of us come from these beginnings, and then when it's time to date, when it's time to interact with the opposite sex, we bring all of these dysfunctions, all of these stereotypes, all of these ways of thinking, we bring all of that into the relationship that we are attempting to build with the woman that we come into contact with, right? So I think it's important to start the new year off right, to talk to our young men about the appropriate dating practices, like how to go about courting a woman, things they should be thinking about, how they should conduct themselves in certain instances. Because like I said, I'm almost a 40-year-old man who was not raised with a father in my house. I had older brothers who attempted to help out as much they could, but I never saw a structured family setting in my home, so I didn't really have a man to kind of go over with me how some of these things should operate. You feel me? So I think it's our duty as older men, as we get older and we raise kids, I think it's our duty to try to teach the younger fathers who want to listen, younger fathers, or even just the younger men who are just now entering the dating scene, who are 15, 16, 17 years old. I think it's important that we get to these young people and let them know how important that it is that they move a certain way. Like, let them know who they are to a degree. You feel me? So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the appropriate way to enter the dating scene for a young black man in 2020. You feel me? So let's get it started. I'm going to just rattle off a few things that I feel we should focus on when it comes to helping our young men navigate the dating scene in the most effective way possible, without hurting people, without hurting themselves, without negatively affecting their future, right? So let's get into it. So, the first thing I think when we have a young man, and you have a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 11 even, this is when we should begin, even a little younger than that. You feel me? This is when we should begin having small conversations about their personality and how they view the world and how they view the opposite sex. But I think one of the biggest things you can do, and this is for my black fathers and mothers out there, all my people, if you know a single mom that's out there struggling, that don't have a father around, don't have a male influence around, send her this podcast. Make sure she listens to this show, because this is for my fathers or anybody out there that need the game, but like specifically for the women who don't have somebody around. Make sure they listen to this, right? So I think the first thing we should focus on when it comes to helping our young men date, helping our young men find the right woman, helping our young men not just go off and start fucking their life up by having a baby here, having a baby there, being like the rolling stone that our community just don't need no more, right? Excuse me. In my opinion, the first thing we need to do is teach them knowledge of self. Now, I say this a lot. Excuse me. Goddamn wheatgrass running through me. Now, I say this a lot, but I mean this, family. If we get an idea of who we are, now whether this be through your religious spectrum, I don't recommend going that way, but through whether it be through a religious spectrum, whether it be through a social spectrum, whether it be through a history spectrum, however you choose to do it, your child, your young black man needs to get an understanding of where we come from as a people, what we've had to go through in this country. Now this is just about his black culture, right? Also, he needs to get a great understanding of his family, what his family had to go through. If his father's not around, the mom has to give all the details she can. Hopefully, she's not in a position where she's giving information about the father from a negative perspective based on her experience with him. Even if he a piece of shit, I don't think women should speak negatively about the father, or vice versa. Men shouldn't do that either. But the kid has to be taught these things. So it can be from a history perspective, where you're teaching him about the men and women who've came before him in history. It can be from a religious perspective. Again, I don't recommend that as much, but if that's the tool you want to use, when the kids are young, we need to start grooming them to be aware of who they are and being confident in loving themselves, right? I think before we can even approach the relationship game, before we can even approach the opposite sex and have something valuable to give to them, bring value to the situation, we need to first get the best possible understanding of who we are. And that starts with learning everything about you. And when we talk about our history, we can't just stop at our family's history per se, just our immediate family, because being black in America, a lot of us have a history of slavery. We have people in our family, like our grandma who could have been on a goddamn plantation. So these are conversations we need to have. If we don't, then we're going to allow our school system who has whitewashed the fucking history, and your kid gonna be thinking Christopher Columbus discovered America and Santa gonna come down your goddamn chimney. You see what I'm saying? So it's up to us to be as real as we can with our kids about all these things. Now, of course, it's going to take you as an adult learning some of these things yourself. It's going to take you being interested in some of this shit yourself for it to actually be beneficial for your child, but it's necessary, family. So before our son or daughter, or I'm speaking specifically about our sons, I will do videos, or I will do shows where I speak directly to young women, to mothers and young women. That will come shortly. But being a black man, having 5 kids, understanding the power that we hold as men now more so than I did when I was a young person, understanding how we kind of dictate how the flow of a relationship works, and we're supposed to be the you know, both men and women can be strong, but we're supposed to be the strong figure in the situation to kind of control certain things. You feel me? So that's why I talk to my young men, because if they approach it the right way, they'll know how to conduct themselves. They'll know how to find the right woman, and you know, and everything can be straight from there. So I make it a point to speak to my young dudes, because I understand how it feels to be a young black man and lack certain levels of guidance. You feel me? So knowledge itself is important. After the knowledge itself, what will happen, this is my opinion, family, y'all rock with me for a minute. After the knowledge itself, what will happen is they'll have a high level of respect for themselves, right? For themselves. When anybody of any race or creed, anybody, if you have respect for yourself, it's going to make it much easier to respect other people. But I'm speaking specifically to my people who've had to deal with so much degradation throughout history, who's had to deal with blackface, who've had to deal with separate bathrooms. We've had to deal with a lot of shit that I think is still in our DNA and can affect how we feel about ourselves today. Like, we're getting to a point where we're seeing images of beautiful black people and family, but not really. You see what I'm saying? Throughout history, that really hasn't been the situation for us. If you allow your school system, like I said, if you allow the public school system in most of our cities to conduct or to give your kid the information about history that they need to know, they'll just be thinking we were slaves and that's it. You feel me? You got to understand the psychology of somebody who understands how the police treats them, understands being poor and how these environments work, but also getting information from people outside of your community telling you that you're not shit, telling you that you was just slaves, telling you that white folks used to hang you up by trees. So of course, all of these things actually happen, but without context, it can ruin a young person. You feel me? Without the proper context, these things can ruin a young person's mentality and how they think about themselves internally. You feel me? So it's important that we do the knowledge. It's important from there, doing that knowledge will help them have respect for themselves. And then from there, we need to make sure they understand how important their personal development is. What do I mean by personal development? When you have a young man that's entering into high school, or entering into a realm where there are more young women around, we get to a point where we may begin allowing the influence of the young girls, the curiosity that we have for the young girls. We're allowing this to take over our being. We're allowing this to occupy all of our thoughts, sometimes even all of our time, when we begin chasing women and figuring out little girls that we like and running behind these girls and being involved with them in a particular way. It's important that we first understand that if we're going to create a life with a woman, the easiest way to do that, the most constructive way to do that, is to first get yourself together. So your personal development is really important, because if you don't have shit to offer to a woman, it ain't gonna matter. And most young men want a woman that they find attractive. They want a woman that they can build with. They want a woman that has all these different qualities. And what we need to teach them is, before you can seek out somebody that has all those qualities, you gotta have those qualities yourself. I think sometimes, even as adults, we're out seeking people, we're out seeking shit that we not. You feel me? So you don't want to have a young person out here looking for something that they not, looking for all these qualities in a person that they haven't even honed in on yet. So before we even enter into the dating game, because you gotta keep it real, family, once your son get his first taste of pussy, who knows if what that's gonna do to him? You feel me? Who knows how fast he gonna start moving at that point? So when they're younger, we need to make sure they understand certain things. We need to understand that chasing women will never get you what you really need, right? You chase your purpose, and then the women just gonna follow. You feel me? Let me say that again. You chase your purpose, and then the women just gonna follow. So we need to teach our young men who begin to use their sexual prowess as a form of bravado to a degree. We need to make sure they understand that that shit ain't cool. We need to kind of frown upon that shit. Now, if you have a young man who's a player and want to deal with multiple women at one time, there's a way to do that. Based on honesty and communication, there's a way to do that. I'm not going to tell you how to do shit. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but how you do it is extremely important, right? So, having them focus on their personal development, meaning who they are as a person, like I was saying, knowledge of self, all that, what they want to do with their lives, what type of career they want, get them to an understanding where whatever their purpose is, they're going to put the most time into that. They're going to put the bulk of their time into that, understanding that the relationship element with a woman, that's going to come later, and you want to be in the best position possible as a man to not only be a provider financially, but be mentally in the right place to raise a family and to do the right things with your kids and all that shit. You feel me? Because when we talk about single parent homes, when we talk about all these young people, even today, having kids with motherfuckers they don't even know that well, having a kid with having a child with a young woman that they was just having sex with, somebody that they're not even serious with. Now the baby's here. Now they want to formulate a family and get to know each other, doing shit completely backwards. So if we want to put an end to some of this in our community, this is how we do it. And this is coming from someone who did it the wrong way. I'm speaking to y'all today, family, from experience of not knowing the value of a structured family, not knowing the value of my place in a home as a man. You feel me? So if we're going to talk to our young people, we got to make sure our young people are well aware of how this shit works. So personal development, who they are as a person, what they want out of life, that needs to be focused on. Now, the reason why you want to make sure that their personal development is intact and they love themselves and they've learned the knowledge of who they are is because you don't want, once, like I just mentioned, once they become sexually active, you don't want sex to dictate their decisions. Some young men, you can have a young man who got a 3.5, just about to get his license. His uncle just got him a job, so he about to start working. Does everything his mom and dad says, or just mom, or just dad, whatever. You can have a young man, and that can be his specs, right? Give him a little bit of pussy. Now he got a 2.9. He don't feel like working no more. He like weed a little more than he like his classrooms. He don't really get along with his mom no more. Now he think he the shit. You see what I'm saying? Sex can really motivate your child in the wrong direction. So I think if we equip him with the things we were just mentioning, then once he comes into contact with a woman in that regard, it won't just fuck up his whole life. Because that can happen to young men. That happens a lot to young men. All of a sudden he got a baby over here, he got a baby over there, college don't sound as appealing no more. All these different things can happen by him discovering pussy, like on some real shit. That happened to me and a lot of people around me. So it's like you got to teach your kids how to manage all of that, how to manage the enjoyment from it. You know what I'm saying? And still balance your little life and understand how important the things you are, or the things you need to do in your life. You feel me? Now, also, so when we talk about the knowledge of self, respecting yourself, personal development, not letting sex dictate situations in your life, we also need to talk about how, as a man, your young man needs to understand, he dictates, and this is my opinion, but I think it's true. You know, I'm an advocate of this. He will dictate the pace of the relationship. That's why women typically aren't proposing to men. Do they do it? Yeah. Do I have a problem with it? No. But for the most part, the tempo of the relationship is established by the man. How fast we gonna go? How slow we gonna how slow we gonna go? Sometimes how fast we gonna go, depending on the woman you're dealing with. But in most cases, they're expecting us to, if you're a little boy, they're expecting you to send her the note saying, do you want to go with me, yes or no? If you get a little older, they're expecting you to say, hey, are we girlfriend and boyfriend? You feel me? A young woman is quick to tell a young man, you know, like, what are we doing here? That comes from them expecting you to kind of dictate how the tempo of the relationship goes. So that is a responsibility, family. That's something that I didn't realize. That's something that I didn't even take into account until way later in life. You feel me? So you got to tell your young man he needs, with that power comes much responsibility. That's why he can't be a goddamn dirtbag. You feel me? That's why he can't be lying and shit. That's why he has to figure out what type of young man he wants to be and understand that being dishonest with women, even though it may feel like it's the right thing to do at the time, ultimately it'll create a lot of distrust, a lot of miscommunication, and a negative experience at the end of the day, when you could have just kept it 100. And really, it starts with keeping it 100 with yourself. Then you'll be a little more inclined to keep it 100 with the women around you. But it's important that the young men understand that, like, women are a little more fragile than men are. Like, emotionally, we get hurt. But a lot of times we're in positions where we can really hurt women. So it's important that you understand the power in that, and understand the power of your words, and being truthful and trying your best to be a man of your word. You feel me? You feel me? So that's things we need to look at, man. When we look at our young men and everything they struggle with in society, with the legal system, with the judicial system, with the school system, like all these different places in environments that we go to where we have to suffer a little bit, where we have to go through all this red tape. That's just kind of how America is. We can't make it harder on ourselves by relating with the opposite sex in a toxic way. You feel me? It kills me when I see young people with kids, and I'm looking at these young people and I see that they're still kids themselves. I see that they haven't even mastered the art of taking care of themselves, but now they got a baby. So now that they got this baby, now a false sense of adulthood is established, and just because they taking care of another person, even if they doing a shitty job, they in a position where now they feel like you can't tell them nothing. Now they feel like they're beyond reproach. You feel what I'm saying? And if we now, of course, I'm never going to speak in absolutes. Can an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old have a baby and this kid end up being a fucking doctor or a lawyer or a big six? Of course. But why even risk it? Look, man, especially in our community, I don't give a fuck. I say most times where two people who come from a unstable house, they come from unstable households themselves, they come from some level of dysfunction or financial strife. When they come together and have a baby when they're young, they fuck the baby up. Now, the baby may be able to go through all the fuck ups and end up being cool themselves, but we gotta face the fact that we fuck our kids up when we approach the parenting paradigm from a non-prepared, when we approach it and we're not prepared for the situation. When we approach it and we're still kids ourselves, we're like, our babies are crash dummies at that point. We're hoping and praying that the shit go right. But in totality, when we have our kids and we become older, there's no fucking way that we should look at our kids and say, yeah, I remember having you when I was young and I struggled and it was hard as shit. So I'm going to advise you to do the same thing. I'm going to advise you that, hey, if you do it, it's not a problem. Yes, young person, it's a fucking problem. You should not have a child as a teenager. I am adamantly against that. And that is on the blame of this happening is on the young man and the young woman. But as I sit here and speak to my young men need to realize we hold a lot of power in this equation. Wearing a condom is up to you. Making sure that condom is on is up to you. I made sure that all of my boys know how to put condoms on. When I was a young man, that was a problem for me. Nobody never showed me how to put a condom on. Nobody never showed me how to put it on. So what happened? I did it wrong. I was embarrassed. I just didn't wear the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Simple things like that. That's why it's important for us to be around and kind of guide the young men who want to listen. Because some young people gonna do what the fuck they want to do. I get that. But it's still up to us to look at the past, look at what we could have done wrong, and help the young men that are around us. Now, granted, this is my story. This is why I approach things the way I do, because I'm aware of my wrongs and the things that I've had to struggle through as a young father, and as a result, my kids being affected by that. You feel me? Every young man don't got that same story. I know a lot of dudes who were smart in high school who wore condoms, and they may got one kid right now or two, but they ain't got hella kids running around. They didn't approach it from that perspective. See, so it's not about what you're doing, it's how you do it. So I'm not gonna tell nobody what to do, but I'm definitely gonna say, hey, this is how you should do it. You feel me? So this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast, family. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show today, for rocking with your boy, man. You can find the episode at melanatedfathers.com. It's always on the website. You can find the episode at Melanated Fathers TV on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify. It's on Apple Music, all those streaming platforms. You'll find it there. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode of the show, man. Next month, keep in mind, next month we are having our Black History Month events next month. Oh, shit, excuse me. On the 15th, we'll be showing, February 15th at 4 p.m., we'll be showing Hidden Colors 1 here at the funeral home, Thompson Rose Chapel Funeral Home is where the movie will be showed on the 15th of February. Got a lot of people coming out. We're going to have a great time. I employ everybody who has never seen the movie. If you know someone who has never seen this movie, please bring them down, family. Please bring them down, family. It is imperative that we learn the real elements from our history so we can begin to put together the truth. You feel me? And if we rely on the school system, if we rely on white society to teach us about Black History Month, we're going to be learning about the same 3-4 motherfuckers every year. We're not going to be getting any in-depth contextual information about how we were really mistreated or the things that we've been able to accomplish throughout history. So please, if you know anybody who hasn't seen the movie, even if you have seen the movie, come down, man, eat some popcorn with us. Let's talk about the topics in the movie. We can just come down and build with us. You feel me? Now that's on the 15th. On the 22nd, we are going to have a screening of the movie Hidden Colors 5, which is a phenomenal movie in that series that speaks about warfare, different forms of warfare that have been waged upon us. Afterwards, I'm really excited because afterwards we are going to have a panel discussion. We're going to have a panel discussion where we discuss, like I was saying earlier in the show, where we discuss realistic solutions for the Black community in 2020. We're going to discuss how to combat the warfare that has been waged on us by the system that we live in. So it's going to be a really powerful conversation. I got my boy Mr. Lewis, like I said, he'll be in the house. I got my boy Chris Lodgson. Chris Lodgson is the creator of ADOS Sacramento. He has a Black business directory on Facebook. He does a lot of really good work here in the Sacramento area. I got a brother I just met, Aurelius the Saint, who has a clothing line, who has a lot of different movements that he push. He has a lot of good things to say. He has a lot of insight about the Black community and things that we've been through and how we can get ourselves up out of this situation. So Aurelius the Saint is going to be in the house. Then I got my boy Keon Johnson, who is going to be on the panel as well. And Keon is a activist here from the Sacramento area, activist, organizer, excuse me, really heavily involved in a lot of the groundwork that goes on here in the Sacramento area as it relates to the Black community. So having Keon in the house is going to be a blessing. So yeah, man, we're going to have a really good panel of brothers. I'll be on the panel as well. It's going to be hosted by my boy Jermaine Morris. So we're going to have a really good time, man. That's on the 22nd. That's on the 22nd. The movie starts at 2 p.m. Hidden Colors 5 starts at 2 p.m. The panel discussion starts at 5 p.m. So movie starts at 2, panel discussion starts at 5. I want to see all my people in Sacramento in the place. I know a lot of us are more inclined to attend events that are based on entertainment or based on some sort of fun that you would have, and I completely understand that there's a time and a place for that, but we got to come get this knowledge, family. We rely on those things too much to a degree. We got to come get this knowledge and get an understanding of who we are as a people, and we just using Black History Month as a catalyst to get this information out. So again, man, that's been another episode of the Melanated Convo podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. Follow me on Instagram, Melanated Fathers 100. That's where you'll find the Melanated Fathers of America Instagram page. That's where you'll find this show. If you haven't been to the website before, go to melanatedfathers.com. On the website, we have books of the month. We have a lot of information about history. We have a lot of news stories that happens. We have a community forums section where I write different articles about family, about relationships, about our children. Go to the website, check out everything I'm doing there. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning into another episode. I'm out.